What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks. Tyler, it's been nice these last couple days. I come on the show, I give a winner, and then right off into the sunset. I've been streaking pretty good. Had the Miami Heat last night, and you know what? When you had the handicap that I had, you weren't too worried by the first half, right? Because the idea is that, hey, it's hard to go for the full four quarters for three games in a row and these high intensity. So, and I'm not saying their effort wasn't there. I'm not saying they weren't focused. I'm just saying it's a lot to ask of your body. It's like asking a guy to run a sprint right after he finishes a marathon. I mean, it's like he could have all the heart and all the conditioning in the world. It's still a very tough task. And I felt Boston Celtics definitely fell prey to that. There was also a little bit of favorable news for us right after the show. We went off the air when we were giving it out. It was -2.5. It moved to 4.5 because Al Horford and Marcus Smart missed the game. So hey, nice to have things break my way as well in that one, right? Because I've definitely ate enough where I was on the other side of that, right? Where I give out a play on the show and then hey, take the Lakers, and then LeBron's out. It's like, great, okay. So that was my quick thoughts on last night. I have a little more, but let me check in with you. What did you think of the Heat defeating the Celtics last night, 118-107?
Yeah, I mean, great call on the Heat. We definitely got the good news afterwards with those two guys being rolled out. And I think that helped us a lot because we've seen they only played 7 bodies last night. One of them being Naismith, who only played 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Pritchard played 30 and Tice played 20 off the bench. Like they ran them starters into the ground. It worked for the first half. They stayed in the game. And then the second half looked like their legs just died.
Yeah.
Miami was just able to prevail. So it was a good call there. I like that game. I mean, scored a little bit more points than I thought they would, but I think that had to do with Boston having less bodies and they just didn't play much defense. Miami was shooting the lights out. And the other thing you got right yesterday, Spread, was you said the Magic were going to get the first pick, and look what happened. They're going
Yeah.
to start a whole lineup of 7-footers.
Yeah, I saw that one you sent me. Ball's the one that I'm worried about. Let's talk about the Heat real quick, and then we'll shift into the lottery before we do tonight's game because I wanted to touch on for the benefit of everyone watching. Um, you know, before the show we were talking, and you said missing those two players really hurt, and I said, hey, it was the one player. It was Marcus Smart. And the reason that it sucks so bad was Peyton Pritchard. We the people, man. You got to be in hell on this take right here, right? Because Peyton Pritchard, great night offensively, right? Guy was putting it through the hoop, whatever. But he was attacked defensively on the other end. Jimmy Butler's just getting right to the elbow, shooting right over him. It was just too easy. And no matter how much you score, when you're trying to make up a deficit, you need to get stopped. And with Peyton Pritchard out there, they simply could not do that. So I thought that Marcus Smart, was a big deal to that. But you thought that they missed Horford as well. So I know we agree on Smart. Tell me why you think they miss Horford so much.
I mean, I just think it's another extra body that they need. I mean, you're playing Daniel Tice 20 minutes. You shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
Horford did play well in that last series, and I mean, it's another body that causes them if they play big, if they put both him and Robert Williams on the floor, like Miami probably has to get another big guy out there because they're putting Tucker on Tatum, and who at that point would you put on Horford if they have Horford and Williams out there? Because Bam can only guard one of them.
I think they're gonna be
If
like Milwaukee and be content to let Horford beat them.
Yeah, I mean that might be the plan, but he
But
has been shooting well.
the difference is they switch and they don't drop. Right? Milwaukee's really quick to just pack the paint, and Miami runs their opponents up the 3-point line so much better.
Yep.
So even if they're going through Horford, he's not going to get those same wide open looks like 5 feet around him, in each way. So that'll be a little bit different. But you're right. I think they missed him. I think they missed his veteran leadership. And yeah, Daniel Tice, that's a nice little role player for the regular season. I don't want him getting double-digit playoff minutes. I can deal with 8, right? 4 minutes each half. That's fine.
We don't want him
Anything
getting
more
20
than
minutes
that,
like last night.
yeah, it's a liability. So we definitely, we're running good on that one. Marcus Smart should be back for the next game, but Horford will not. Kyle Lowry's doubtful, but at this point, I don't even know if he helps the team. If Marcus Smart's back in there, do you think that's enough to shift it, or do they need both players? What do you think?
I think that just having Marcus Smart back can win him a game, but I don't think they win the series if Horford's out for say the entire series, which I think he misses 3 to 4 games.
Wow. All right. Interesting there. Anything more on that one before we go into the lottery?
No, I mean, I think we touched on everything. It was just like it was that typical Miami game. Butler did his thing, and then Boston just kind of faded out like we thought. So I think we hit that game right on the head.
Yeah, it's nice to get one right. It's so much more fun to do these shows other than after I tell you guys the Bucks are going to win, come on, oh man, this isn't going to be fun. So definitely much nicer to be logging on to do this show today. Let's talk about the lottery real quick, Tyler, and because honestly, it's pretty cool that my favorite team, Sacramento Kings, moved up to 4. Magic got number 1. OKC's number 2, right? And then the Rockets are number 3.
Yep.
And
OKC.
these players so much better than me. You know them so much better than me. What do you think about these top 4 guys, and what do you think? Who do you think that my Kings should go for?
Yeah,
Right now, I assume that it's going to go Jabari, Chet, then Paolo. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean it should, but this order is weird now because the Magic have big men on their team, and all 3 of the top prospects are bigs, and you wouldn't take Jaden Ivey first. So it's like it's a weird start to the top. So I think Jabari is the better of the 3, in my opinion. Like Paulo's more like your pick and roll big, which I don't think fits in Orlando. And Chet's just kind of like that unicorn that we don't know what he's going to be. Jabari could shoot threes, could space the floor. I think they go that route. And then I think OKC swoops right in and takes Chet at 2.
Yeah.
Because that's like your typical OKC pick. If the dude turns out to be a great player, it's what they were looking for all along. And then that leaves the Duke guy heading to Houston to play with Jalen Green and KPJ and them, which I think is a great fit.
You like who'd you say in Houston?
The Paulo Banchero out of Duke.
Okay. All right. So that leads us to Art. So that seems like it's going to be those 3, right? So it feels like the real. Go ahead.
But then your team's in a bad spot too because you guys have De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell. Do you guys really want to draft a player like Jaden Ivey, who's another ball handling guard?
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Even though Monty McNair is on his last year, he's probably realized, okay, first of all, I'm working for the biggest idiot in the history of sports since Donald Sterling. So it's probably not going to get done here. If I want to get another job, I need to nail my 3 picks. So it doesn't matter even if I'm not around to do the benefits, right? And so like for people who are saying, oh, well, he's not going to draft Sharp, even if he thinks that Sharp's the best player available because he's the least ready to help them make the playoffs right now. I don't necessarily think so. I think he realizes how bad things are here. And if you have 3 good drafts on your resume, you can get hired by like a real franchise that does things right. If you're like, hey, I took Halliburton, Mitchell, and whoever ends up in here. So I think he'll go for best player available. Who do you think that is? From what the Kings fans, so I was on Kings Reddit last night. Seems like they expect it's going to be Sharp, Ivy, or Murray. What do you think of those?
I think right at that number 4 spot, if the 3 big guys go 1, 2, 3, I think Ivy's 4. Just because we haven't seen Sharp play since high school, so we don't know how he would have translated to college.
But supposedly he was the best one last year when you ranked all these kids last year.
Well, no, he would have been the best one next year. He reclassified to this year.
Right, but I mean, supposedly he's just out of this world as far as athleticism and stuff, right?
No, I agree, but we've seen guys at like that one spot. Like Andrew Wiggins held that one spot in the ESPN thing for a while. Everyone thought he was going to be like the next superstar, which he turned out to be a great player, but you redo that draft, you still taking him 1? Probably
no
not.
Way. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, okay.
So like
I
don't like the not having any footage on Sharp because again, this could be like an Anthony Simons. You might have to wait 4 years before.
Could be a James Wiseman. Wasn't that a similar situation? We only had 3 games.
Exactly. Yeah. And a big man's a little bit different though than a guard. Like Simon still showed you flashes in the NBA, but it took him 4 years before he finally could show you he can contribute.
And you know what's so funny is I was reading he was killing practice the whole time, and he just couldn't translate it to the games. Yep. But they knew they're like, we're not giving this guy up. Like he's killing practice.
Yep. And then that Keegan Murray out of Iowa, he's basically just a 3-and-D guy, so I couldn't see them taking him at 4.
I mean, if they took him at 4, to me that would signify that they're going so much into the win now thing. It just would show that this team is never going to be good. When you're as bad as we are, I really hope that you just go for the potential. And it seems to me the potential is either Ivy or Sharp. So we will see what happens. But hey, that was pretty cool for us to move up. And I'll be honest, if it was still Vlade and those idiots, they would blow it. But I think to me, Monty McNair is 2 for 2. Would I rather had Şengün over Mitchell? Yeah. But at the same time, like I think Mitchell's going to end up being, at least a quality contributor. It's not like when we drafted, what was that kid's name, Papagiannis or Thomas Robinson or Ben McLemore, like all these guys that just weren't even close.
Pelicans sitting at 8-2 spread. They're going to get a solid guy at 8.
Yeah, supposedly. So how does this go? There's the little window of the top 3 or the top 4. Do you consider Ivy to be in there, or do you think that the top 3 guys are just a league ahead of Ivy?
No, I'd say he's probably up there with them because I don't consider these 3 at the top like superstars. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
could they be? Yes, but I just don't classify them here yet. I'd say those 4 are in a tier of their own.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp's just kind of also in a tier of his own because we don't know what he is.
Is it almost like Michael Porter Jr., where he could be really good or really bad?
Yeah, but Michael Porter Jr. was different. Injuries kind of affected him. Like, right. If there was no injuries, we knew he was the best kid coming out of that class, regardless. Like, we watched him in the McDonald's game just take over the floor and just dominate everybody out there, which it's him and the next best 25 guys coming out in that class. So if it wasn't for the back problems, he'd have been a lot different.
Yeah. I'm writing back to Adam real quick. He says, Fred reminds me of Rob Riggle. It sucks getting old, Tyler. When I was younger, I used to get compared to that dude on Law and Order that all the girls like. And I never thought that, like, oh, they like him. But, like, so many girls I know thought he was hot. So I was like, okay, cool. Or the guy from Mad Men. Like, okay, I'll take that. Like, that's pretty good. I know girls like him. Now I'm old. I get Rob Riggle. Tyler, don't get old, right? Make sure you get your night sleep every night. So any more thoughts on the draft here before we move on? For example, Joey Work thinks that you guys trade the pick. As a Knicks fan, like, what would be like your ideal, like realistic? Like, don't tell me like, oh, Jabari Smith falls to 10. What would be like your ideal landing spot, or have you not looked into it enough yet?
I mean, if they trade up, like, they got to get up into the top 3. Like, I really hate to see them trade this year's pick and next year's pick, go up to 4 and get Jaden Ivey because they think he's the next John Morant, because he could be, but I just don't see it as much. Like, those players are going to be hard to come by. Why not take the chance and cross your fingers and hold on to next year's pick? They land 1 in the lottery, and then they pick that kid out of France who's Rudy Gobert with a jump shot. So you have your chance at that next year.
Wembanyama?
Yeah, he'll be out next year.
I think we the people got it on the head here. First of all, last year's class was badass. So if you think we're getting that again, I don't think we are. And I think next year's class is better than this class either. Is it better than this class as well? So, that's going to be like it. All right, cool. Any other lottery thoughts? Like, it's exciting. How long do we have to prepare for that? Does that happen?
We have like a month or 2. Yeah, we have a month. It's in the off season, so it's after the finals.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to tonight's game. Are we going to disagree? I can't remember. We talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Not on this first game. We're not going to disagree.
Is it the same handicap as what we did yesterday? You got Dallas coming off 2 elimination games.
Pretty much, but I think it's a little different because Dallas's guys didn't really play a full game, to where like Boston was in a dogfight till the 4th quarter where they finally pulled away. We knew the Mavs had that in the bag in the 2nd quarter.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I still think the emotional run-up, the preparation, right? I think that's what gets fatiguing, not the actual time on the court. Like, all these guys are pros. Like, they can go play basketball for a while. I think that what wears you down is the nerves the night before, the excitement after the game. These are multiple nights of not getting good sleep. And, of course, these guys aren't me. They're not, like, wrecked if they don't get a good night's sleep like I do. When you're like you said, right, you saw the picture of Luka drinking the beer, and I said, at his age it doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's just when you're young, you're so able to recover. But I think that emotionally and physically it is hard to get up, and they did play 2 elimination games in a row. They rolled in both of them though, right? I mean, game 6 felt like it was a pretty easy win too. So I guess you're right, it is a little different. The series wasn't as hard fought. But I also think there's a little bit of people underestimating the Warriors, right? I mean, I know they had Kevin Durant, right? But wasn't this like the greatest team of all time like 3 years ago? have they got that much older? These guys do have the championship experience, and it just feels like we want to crown these guys so much when they just win like a division playoff round. I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I hear all this. Luka's the best player on the floor, right? And I'm like, Steph fall off that hard, right? Because I remember in 2018, Steph was the best player in the world. I mean, I know he's not shooting like he was, but he's still got the experience. He's still got the confidence. He's still got the knowledge, and I think he's got way better teammates. So even if I grant you that Luka is better than Steph, right? Let's say I grant you that. Okay. Even though I don't want to, but just for the sake of this argument, I will. I think I got the second best player on the floor. I think I got the third best player on the floor. I think I got the fourth best player on the floor. And when we get to 5, I'll start arguing, right? But just because of defense, I mean, is Jalen Brunson that much better than Andrew Wiggins? I mean, I guess at that point you're going to beat me, right? But would you agree with me that I got 2, 3, 4 here with Clay, Dre, and Poole?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. The Draymond one, I mean, it's just basketball outside of putting the actual ball in the hoop that he does well. So I'm interested to see how Dallas plays him. Like, if you kind of just force him to shoot the ball and just take everyone else away.
He did pretty good against Jokic
very
in round
interested
1.
to see. But that's playing defense. Like, I'm talking offense.
Right. I'm just saying, like,
when he's got to shoot the ball, like if you like teams have spaced away from him and he's just stood there with the ball and waited for Curry. Mm-hmm. What happens if Curry shows up and the double team's already on him because they know that's what they want? Now it's like, all right, Draymond, shoot the ball. Like, it's your turn. Like, is he finally going to do it, or is he just going to stand there like a deer in the headlights and still look to pass the ball? So that's what I'm interested to see in this series.
I mean, this has been an issue. His only good year shooting from behind the arc was like 2016, right? They've been able to win without him really being a threat anymore. And I agree with you. And I think Jason Kidd's smart. And I think they're getting given the Al Horford treatment, right? The same way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they're gonna force a guy like Draymond and I think Wiggins to beat them. Like that's gonna be the goal.
But here's the thing. I think that Steve Kerr is so much better at creating good looks for his players, right? And I don't think Giannis can do this, right? Because I mean, he's so fast for his size. But I mean, Steph is still one of the fastest players in the league. He's going to run his defender through multiple screens, multiple, the back screens, the pin downs, right? He's just going to be moving all over. And it's not just one guy you have to worry about. Where, for example, like, we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. Everyone goes, who's guarding Luka? Who's guarding Luka? I'm like, it's not just going to be one guy guarding Luka. It's not just going to be one guy guarding Luka. But I think that if you shut down both Luka and Steph, you got a way better chance if you're the Warriors because I got Clay to come through. I got Poole to come through. If I take away Luka, I got it, right? If you tell me right now that Luka had less than 30 points tonight, I mean, it's a 5-unit play. And if you guys know me, you guys know I never bet. Like 2 units is like a big deal. I do it a couple times a year, right? I do almost 1 unit on almost everything. So, I mean, I think that, if they are able to slow down Luka. Now, here's the question. Do you think they are being able to? And it transfers a little bit to the DFS. I know we don't have a guy here to specifically break down the slate, but I mean, is Luka going to go off again, or are the Warriors have some defense something for him? I mean, this is good defense. This is a good team.
I think he's going to go off again. I think he's going to get these guys in foul trouble too. I mean, who do they start with, Wiggins, or do they start with Draymond on him? Because you're not putting any of the guards.
Where's Robert in the chat? Do we have ref trends? Robert usually sends them to me.
Like, he's going to go right at Wiggins or right at Draymond, get them in foul trouble.
I mean, if Draymond can stop Jokic, I think he can stop Doncic. Do you think that Doncic is better than Jokic on offense?
I think it's a whole it's not the argument is he better. It's the whole different ball game. It's not a big guy that's going to put his back
for his size.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, step back, pump fake, he's up in the air. There's a foul. Draymond screaming at the ref. Like, there's a lot of ways that Jokic can't get Draymond to foul him because he plays in slow motion. That Luka can because he's a guard doing other moves. So
Jokic should draw a lot of fouls even against weaker defenders. So I understand.
Yeah.
So our guy Robert, who loves ref trends, says that the refs favor the Warriors by far as well. So I'll take that. I'll take that. I think this is going to be a lot of fun there. So I'm on the Warriors -5.5, but it sounds like you are taking the approach. Hey, I like your bet tonight. You like my bet tonight. but you're thinking about grabbing some Dallas here, maybe after game one tonight, when the series edge. Jason Kidd's got a time to look at the film, right? One other thing that I'd like to point out that I love for my bet tonight, same thing. Let's say I'm down by 3 or 5 going into halftime. I'm not worried. I think that I'm going to have a huge edge on those third quarter adjustments, just like I did last night with Spolstra. I mean, Warriors third quarter was the best bet in basketball for 5 years, right? So I might be jumping in, if they're down at half, right? And you can even bet the third quarter. I think it's -1 right now. My only worry there is that that you get a dud from the whole thing and they're up by 10 going into the third. But boy, if they're close or down a little bit, I'm going to love that Warriors third quarter. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. And I mean, the trend kind of goes with you too here. Since 2015, Warriors in game ones, they're 20-2 straight up, and 8-2 ATS is single digit home favorites in game one since 2015. So all the trends push to Golden State here. Even the trend of fading the team, they just played 7 games. So I think taking Golden State's the right side here tonight. But I will be looking to get on Dallas in the series, just like you said. I think there's some adjustments that can be made. I don't think the screens and the backdoor cuts are going to mean as much when you're switching everything on the Dallas side. So I think it's going to throw Warriors a little bit of a wrench in their system, which they've never seen before.
And not change the subject too much, but we talked about it yesterday, and I said, hey, I might be looking to take Boston after they lose tonight's game. Because Horford's still going to be out, and I liked a lot of things that I saw last night, and I think that they're easily replicable. And I think that, yes, Marcus Smart's going to make it tougher on the Heat, but I also don't think the Heat are going to start so slow. The rest versus rust argument, Heat look rusty to start, right? And the a boxing analogy, right? Heat looked like a guy that all they did was run and hit the mitts all camp. And the Mavericks were sparring the Celtics were sparring the whole time, right? And just came out a lot fresher. So it'd be really interesting. But you got to make a great point, man. I think Kurt is going to do a great job getting these guys going tonight. So I really like the Warriors. What are you looking at when it comes to the props?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the props, I mean, you could back a Steph here. You could back Clay if you think he goes off. Mm-hmm. But I think the best play is it's game one. We talked about this yesterday. Like, just take the side, kind of leave the props and let this see how this series plays out. Unless you're going to back one of the studs, like maybe a Steph 4+ threes and win, a Clay 5+ threes and win. Go that route. Even if you wanted to bet pool, that could be a way you go. Or maybe even the Wiggins rebounds route, like Wiggins 6+ rebounds and win, because he has been one of their better rebounders. Dallas isn't a big team, so his rebounding should stay right where it's at. But for the most part, I'm just going to stick with you on that Warriors -5.5. And I like We the People's Call too. Like if you do the win margin, them by 11 or 10+ is like +185. I'll get you the exact number. Yeah, Golden State Warriors 11+ +185.
We the People also likes double and win here. I think that's great because I think they're completely correlated. I think you're right, Tyler. If Draymond does not have a good night, or they give him the Horford treatment and he clanks all his threes, the Dallas is going to get a little bit of opportunity there, stuff like that. I want to talk to you about props though. You're much better at it than I am. But my original one was pool. I feel like, a lot of the stuff you said about them taking out Steph is going to happen. I don't think Steph is a selfish player. I think he's going to be fine letting these other guys work. And, to me, Poole has the versatility to do it all. Clay still, and they always talk about it, especially when they're in their prime, right? Like Clay's shooting form is probably a little more pure than Steph, right? Just the most, if you want, back in the day, like Tony Gwynn was like the perfect swing in baseball. I think that Clay has the perfect shooting form, but I don't think he has the physical ability to just get to the rim at will. Like I do think that Poole will be able to do, especially, right? Let's say Bullock and DFS are sitting there working against Clay and Steph or doubling Steph. Poole should have a great opportunity, right, to work against a Brunson, a Dinwiddie, a Kleber, a Bullock. Not a Bullock, Powell, right? Guys like that. And it's going to be weird for Dallas once again. The Warriors, you don't have an advantage with the big men, but right, Looney minutes I think are going to be good going against this smaller weaker Mavericks lineup. What do you think of my idea of attacking Poole perhaps if I do play an over?
I don't hate it. My only worry here is looking at his numbers in his matchups against Dallas. He's played them 2, 4, 6, 7 times, 4 times this year. His minutes log against them 27, 19, 26, 24, 22, 28, 30. So it's in that range where he's probably going to be tonight. Points scored 23, 4, 17, 6, 10, 17, 11. His points prop 16 and a half. He's only covered that 3 times. And he's playing a lot of minutes. I don't like that as much. And he's taking double-digit shots in 6 of those games. So he's getting the shots. They're just not falling. He could have a good game here, but he has also been playing pretty bad. So that'd be my only worry there.
Okay, and that's why I love talking to you about these because, like I said, this was just like an original.
He might also get screwed spread because he might catch the initial Frank, however you say his last name.
Frankie Nicotine? Is he really matters?
Did you see the
numbers?
numbers?
How does it feel to watch all these ex-Knicks actually matter?
Well, it's funny because teams actually figure out how to use them. So, like,
doesn't that make it feel worse though when you see a guy and I have the same thing happen to me as a Sacramento Kings fan, and you're like, boy, the talent's there. It was a leadership problem. It was an intellectual problem. We expected the wrong things of the guy, and we put him in situations where he was set up to fail. Then you see a team use him in a situation to succeed, and maybe, that's just what he is in this league. He's a guy that comes in and gives you a good 15, 20 minutes of defense, and that's it. But, boy, it's frustrating, man, when you see guys like Bullock and Nicotine just have a great
yeah, I mean, here's his numbers from last series. He held Chris Paul and Devin Booker 3 for 40 field goals when matched up on them. You don't think they're going to use him in this series?
Damn.
He might be the initial guy that goes, like, as Poole comes off the bench, it's going to be like, all right, now you're going to come off the bench and go neutralize what they think is going to be their scoring threat.
Yeah, I agree, Joey. Bullock did play good for the Knicks, and I think, and we talked about it, and I'll have to go show JSU because we talked about Bullock being a good pickup for the Mavericks in the offseason. He said nobody said that. We totally said that in our offseason previews, Tyler. Didn't we? I thought he was a great pickup there. Expendable role player. Yeah, let's see. We'll see. I don't think he's expendable. I think he's going to mean a lot to the series. If I end up losing the bet, it's going to be because of him. I mean, we can almost write Luka in for like 30 and 10, right? It's almost like betting against Embiid, right?
Yeah.
Like when I bet against Embiid, I'm not like, oh, if he goes for 35, I'm going to lose. I'm like, I pretty much already factored that in. It's the other guys that are going to let him down. Right. And it's the other guys that let them down in games 1 and 2 against Phoenix when they got off to such a slow start. And then Kidd made the proper adjustments. After 2 games, weren't we? I mean, I think I like Phoenix in game 3. I thought that series was going to be like a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, right? After how dominant they looked. But then Jason Kidd made the proper adjustments.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see the adjustments he makes here.
Yeah, and hopefully we won't see him till game 3 after I've cashed my game 1 and my game 2 tickets. I mean, and also to be fair, I'm not saying for sure I'm going to bet game 2, but I'm going to like the Warriors tonight here in game 1, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes. I think this could be a case where even if you're on the Mavericks and they go down 2-0, it doesn't mean the series is over, right? Because I think that they get some momentum, they start doing things right, and it felt that way. That was the recipe against Phoenix, right? Was to just you just keep winning. You keep winning your home games, and then you're there in game 7, and you got all the right moves to make. And it's going to be the same exact deal if it does get to a game 7. Who's all the pressure on? ESPN. Steph's legacy's at stake. Yep. Draymond's greatness in question, right? Luka can lose this and it's fine. I mean, they're free rolling just like they were free rolling in that last game 7, and it felt that way when it started. It kept, even like at poker, one guy's really tight with his chips, scared to lose, and one team guy's like, I don't care, I don't need this money. I got a bunch of money and a hot girl back in my hotel room. I don't need this money, right? Where it felt like Phoenix was like, oh, if I lose this hand, I'm financially ruined, like that old Tiger King meme. Like, I'm never going to financially recover from this, right? That was like Phoenix, the attitude that they had going into this game. So do I get to slander the point fraud anymore, or are we done with that?
I mean, you can go for it.
Didn't you say that he was considering retirement before the
I
show?
did see, yeah, I did see that on Twitter. He's considering retirement.
What do you think? What do you think? Do you think it will happen, or do you think it's
I
just?
think it should happen, but I don't think it will. He's owed a lot of money.
Yeah, it's hard to walk away from that much money, no matter how much money you have. 40
Yep.
million for playing some basketball.
That's the thing. 40 million. He's gonna walk into that 40 million. He ain't going home.
Yeah, I think it's really tough to turn down. And we talked about it a little bit, but they come back with a different team. I think DeAndre Ayton's out of there, so I can't wait to see where he ends up. Be interesting to see if he's involved in a draft day trade as well. So, all right, do we have anything more we want to talk about NBA related before we give out the best bets?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think we touched on everything. I think it's just kind of like a wait and feel this series out with this game. So, not many picks for me on this one.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to give one because that's what we do here on this show. And it's good that we have a nice, quick, easy, information-heavy show today, right? Because we need everyone to rest up because we are going long tomorrow. I can already feel. I've been watching the final countdown with JSU and writing shit down because there's so much stuff that we're gonna have to talk about, right? When we disagree on stuff, and it's really gonna make for a fun show. So we're gonna have a big one for you tomorrow, right? Unless something happens and JSU's caught in some sort of vortex whirlwind. But right now, he's planning on coming on, and we Tyler grab some lemonade or something, right? Because you know how me and JSU get, right? You might just be sitting there, but hopefully we'll get you involved in it well. And hey, you know what, Tyler? It might be time. Maybe you better prod and poke Big T a little bit on Twitter before the show starts, right? I can't do it. It's you. You're the one that really is going to be like, send me the link, all caps, right? So I'm just asking, right? Maybe we prod the Big T a little bit tomorrow. So that's
Get
what we
some
got coming
Jokic
up for you guys
slander going
tomorrow.
on Twitter.
Yeah. Hey, did you see that guy Jovic? Did you see his
Yeah.
measurables?
Yeah, he's gonna be good.
Dude, he's got no body fat on him.
There's a couple guys like that in this draft.
Did you see Sharps at under 5%?
Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Duke center's under 5% too, and he's like 7 foot.
Who? The one that's going 10 or 11?
Mark Williams, yeah.
Oh, no. Who's the one?
AJ Griffin's the other guy.
No. Okay, he's not from Duke. Who's the center that everyone's got going to you guys?
Let me go look.
I don't understand why you draft a center anymore. That's like running backs. I think within 3 to 5 years, it's going to be
I didn't see a single draft having us taking a center. Let me see if I can find one.
Yeah, let me pull up the top prospects right now because I'm curious about that.
Jalen Duren?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, they have him projected before we even pick to.
What do you think of him, man? Every time I see a team taking a center in the first round or in those top 10 picks, because if you're in the lottery, you're not very good. I'm like,
no, he's a solid player. He's not he's not going to stretch the floor
anymore. That's one thing that JSU and I agree on. Centers don't matter anymore. They legislated them out of the game. Once they said you can't touch someone on the perimeter, centers were done. Just like when you said, hey, you can't touch a wide receiver, running backs were done. Because why would I not throw every time? Especially when I'm getting holding calls just at random, bringing me back 10 yards. But my wide receivers can just, anyways. I can't believe people are drafting centers so high. And that's actually my hope that, you guys go ahead and take these three bigs in the first round, and the Kings are sitting at 4, and we actually get a guard or a wing, something that the league's actually built around now. So would you be happy if you ended up with that guy, though? To me, I'm like, why would the Knicks take another center?
No, I don't want Jalen Duren. But the thing about it is, like, all the guys in that range, like, unless AJ Griffin's sitting there in 11, that's the only one I would want.
He's not dropping that far, is he?
They have.
Is he the one who was the guy that killed us when we were hanging out on the live show that one day and we all put him in our DFS lineup that you love?
I think it is AJ Griffin.
It was him, huh? And we were all tilted because he had like 4 points when they got eliminated.
It might have been. I can't play college DFS in PA, so I don't.
Oh, okay. I think that lineup. I don't know if you were on the show or if Steve was on the show and he said to play him, and I was like, Tyler loves that guy. Oh, how about this one? Great question here because we do have a little extra time today. Have we spoken on Pat Beverly? What do you think, Tyler? I love it, man. Let's get rid of Shaq. Let's get rid of Chuck. Let's make it Kenny, Draymond, and Pat Bev on that inside the TNT panel. What do you think of him?
No, I mean, he only talks like once these teams lose. Like, where was he when CP3 knocked him out of the Western Conference Finals last year? He was pushing him in the back like a coward.
Oh, hot
Like
take.
what are we gonna do? Oh, he lost. Let me run to ESPN and talk shit.
He was ready too.
I didn't even beat him, but let me run to ESPN and talk shit. So it's
He
like,
was
I
ready
don't.
too. I mean, this is like a crowning moment of his life. He was so happy to be able to
Did you
do it.
see what Danny Green said about him?
No, what? I'm sure a lot of players don't
Danny,
like him.
he said, people target you too, Pat Bev. You ain't playing no effing defense out there. You ain't stopping Luka. Time to time, I hear Luka call your little ass over here and say he's too fucking small and go right at you every chance he got.
Damn, and it's true too,
So,
because that's what
and
happens
Damian
when you're.
Lillard said something about Pat Beverly too. He's like, what did CP3 ever do to you? So it's like,
Yeah, I would think the other players don't like it, but for us here that do content and just watch the NBA, it's great because it gives us something to talk about. And I'll be honest, on Monday I went out like on a hike, but I know I do this one trail so much. I know the spots like where I can sit at a bench and I get reception. And I sat down there and I listened to because they put the clips on Twitter and I was laughing out loud. Like, I'm like, okay, this is funny stuff. Like when he calls them like the traffic cone drill, I'm like, Yeah, I mean, we the people's got a point.
that's
Um,
exactly what it is.
he's like a chihuahua barking versus pit bulls. Um,
You
so
ever see that
anyways,
video of the dogs barking at each other and then the fence opens and then they stop barking?
yeah.
That's Pat Beverly.
All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, so it's funny. It's one of those things where I disagree with them, but like sometimes those shows are good. Like I'll listen to Coward when I'm driving on the radio. Like most of his takes are absolutely wrong, but it's like entertaining, especially if I've run through my whole podcast list. So I think he would be entertaining for the NBA, and they seem to be more worried about entertainment than actually promoting their sport properly. So let's go all in if that's the way we're going to do it. Best bet time, Tyler. I know that you don't love tonight's game. I think that I'm a lot stronger on it than you. But hey, the people love Tyler. They clamor for you when you're not on the show. Give them what they want. What's your best bet for the day?
I'm just sticking with exactly what you're taking. Give me Golden State -5.
All right, we're on it. So you don't have a prop that you really like tonight?
Not really, not in this game. I didn't find one that stuck out to me. Didn't want
Okay,
to
cool.
force one.
Yeah, and I don't think you should force it because if you think about it, like this is what today, Wednesday, right? On a normal Wednesday show, we're choosing from 11 games. Imagine if we gave out a pick in every single game on a Wednesday. People would be like,
Yeah, it'd
"What
be
are these guys
ridiculous.
doing? You found 11 edges. Every single line was wrong." So the idea, that we're always going to have a great pick or an absolute winner. But I'll tell you what, I do feel stronger about this Warriors than you do, I think. And I think my idea is just I really like fading these teams coming off the emotional series when they have to go on the road for a game one, and I really like the experience disadvantage here. And I think that you are getting somewhat of a discount because of how good the Mavericks looked in their elimination games. And I think that, this would have been it should be -7, -7.5. I think you're getting a point and a half because number one, everyone says that Luke is the best player on the floor. I mean, right? The best player on the floor doesn't always win. Jokic, you could
Yep.
argue, is the best player on the floor against the Warriors. That didn't matter, right? Giannis was the best player on the floor against Boston, right? I mean, I don't think I'm making a hot take when I say that. Giannis was the best player on the floor. Tatum was great. Giannis was a level above. They didn't win. So you can have the best player on the floor. I'm going to take the team with an awesome coach and championship pedigree. I'm on the Warriors -5.5 for this evening. Guys, if you're not a member of runpuresports.com, make sure you head on over. Use that promo code GETBETS. If you're not part of the Sports Keg live package, I don't know what's going on. Even if you don't have time to watch the shows, you get the winners in the Discord. So you can have a busy weekend like me and you still get these winners. The MMA was just unbelievable this weekend. So make sure you're checking that out. Tyler and I were able to be on last weekend. We're going to be jumping on this weekend as long as the NBA goes. So, if you can't get enough of us, make sure you're part of that Keg Live package. Make sure you remember runpuresports.com, promo code GETBETS. Tyler, I don't have anyone else to ask, so it's got to be you that takes us out of here. Words of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't got many of them, so I just hope we get a good game tonight. Probably going to get a Golden State blowout, and we'll cash that ticket. So let's hope we run pure tonight.
All right, I'll give you some words of wisdom. Get plenty of rest and eat healthy. Run pure.